When you buy a Monstera Albo, you might be purchasing it as a mid-cutting. A mid-cutting means the stem has been cut on both ends and it will look something like this. If you have a mid-cutting, you cannot predict what your plant will look like based on the leaf. You need to look at the stem, and if you're lucky, you'll see a growth point. This section right here. Now this cutting should be a great cutting because the new leaf will grow from this point. Because the growth point is sitting on a section of leaf that has both green and white, the new leaf should have both green and white. And here's what that plant looks like today. But check out this section here. The growth point is clearly on mostly a white portion of the stem. If I leave this to grow, it'll put out a mostly white or all white leaf and it won't be a long-term viable plant. And here's what that plant looks like today. Not enough green to photosynthesize and sustain itself. If your mid-cutting has a growth point on a portion of the stem that is both clearly white and green, it's probably a good cutting. If it's on a section of stem that's all green, your next leaf is probably going to be all green. It doesn't matter how nice the previous leaf looked. And if you can't see a growth point on the stem just yet, you do run the risk of not getting the kind of plant that you want. Sometimes a growth point might be hiding behind the petiole of a leaf and it's difficult to see. But once it's revealed, this cutting could be a relatively high-risk cutting. While it does have a large strip of green running through it, it will most likely have huge sections of white throughout the leaves, possibly a half moon. And here's what that looks like today. And now for the most frustrating betrayal of my life, one of my plants became the most perfect half moon albos. Honestly, I thought I was gonna ride this plant to fame and fortune. My plant was putting out one perfect half moon leaf, followed by an all white leaf, then a perfect half moon, and then all of a sudden, the plant just decided to flip. One day it just chose violence, and now its new pattern is an all white leaf, followed by an all green leaf. An all green followed by all white. Care to guess the next color? Did you guess it was bad? Yeah, you win. And this is what people mean when they say that Monstera Albos have unstable variegation. You can make educated guesses on what the next leaf will look like based on the caterpillar or the stem or past behavior of the plant. But honestly, owning this plant, it's just gambling. Seriously, it's just a numbers game. Take as many cuttings as you can and hopefully you'll get a plant that has great variegation that will be more stable for a longer period of time. With Monstera Albos, you can control how long the white portion stays on your plant. You can control this by consistent watering, lighting, and other conditions. Large white portions like these are more likely to turn brown faster. Sections like these with even more variegation will likely last longer, and some might not brown at all. You can control where you cut this plant. If you wait for growth points to appear, you can make strategic cuts along the stem of the plant and hope for better variegation in the future. Avoid these high-risk cuttings and go for more even variegation in the stem. Otherwise, all bets are off. Increasing or decreasing the amount of light you give your plant will not change its variegation. It's all unstable genetics. And honestly, that's just kind of how it is with a lot of variegated plants. Some are here for a good time, not a long time. See you next time.